Alrighty. Well, welcome everyone to the chat. Hello, hello. So today we are doing a stylized render. Now, basically I just wanted to do like an art challenge submission. One of the servers I'm on does like a monthly art challenge, and so I'm wanting to try to do something for that. The theme was oceans and basically just like anything sea related. Uh, I wasn't sure exactly what to do with that. Um, all I could think of, frankly, was like mermaids. I don't know if that's just, I don't know, but the I was thinking of like the Little Mermaid came to mind was kind of the style I was thinking of, but yeah. So that's what I'm going to do today is make a stylized render of it. Now, the thing I have is that I actually I prepped a lot of the scenes so far, so I could try to have this ready to go in the main thing. But the problem was that I made it I made it physically. I made it realistic first, which I probably shouldn't have done. But let me show you what I mean. So I have this mermaid scene. Now, the two things I'm missing is hair. He's meant to have hair. I didn't have that set up yet, but that's okay. That's one of the things I wanted to do. And then the other one was I wanted to give her some interesting clothes ideas, because the idea I had with the clothes, I forgot to update the description. Second. Because the idea I wanted to do is, because I feel like with mermaids, I feel like it's kind of been always the one and done of like just tail and seashells, basically. Like there's not any extra clothes, which I mean, for swimming makes sense. It's like you want to be like lean for swimming and all that stuff. But if you haven't been to the beach before, it's quite windy. It's quite cold. Like it would be just shivering the entire time they're outside the water. So I was thinking of like doing something where she had like a kind of a jacket type of thing to go off of. But anyway, I had a busy week at work and I was not able to finish prepping the scene as much as I wanted to. So that's why this is kind of at least the character's not fully done. But I do mean to do that. I can turn around with the character. She is I masked it so she's safely monetizable. If I ever do show her front, it's hidden in the viewport, so that should be fine. But so yeah, this is the scene. I'll show you around really quick. So there's the water, which is really fun. Also, there's no crashing waves. That's the other thing I need to do. You'll notice there's a Suzanne here. And that it's a one of the rocks in the scene. And this is something I was learning with the adaptive subdivision that's available in Blender now, or at least available in cycles. It was experimental for a long time, and it was very slow in performance. It wasn't super useful, but recently they merged it into fully native cycles. So now all the subdivision can have adaptive subdivision. Basically means that Blender will automatically subdivide for you based on certain things. So if it's a non-instanced object, you can just have it by pixels. So it's that if it's taking up a lot of the screen, it's going to be more subdivided. Or if it's instanced, then you have to do it by edge length. So, but yeah, that's the idea. So I've hidden a bunch of Suzanne's all around. So there's a couple of the rocks which are just reusing this one, but you'll notice there's a bunch of other Suzanne's in here as well. But that's the nice thing with adaptive subdivision, and if you creatively scale and instance your meshes, is that you can reuse them. You can just scatter them around your scene, and works really well. But yeah, so that's the idea that I want to do. So I want to turn this into a stylized render. I could go into the shaders and like manually redo all of that, but I am feeling a little lazy, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to see if I can do it all in the compositor. So doing all the stylization in the compositor. Now, I actually have the render raw add-on is doing all the compositing right now. So I'm going to actually disable it. And then I'm going to redo my compositing with all that. So I'm going to do this down. Normally I do the image editor if I'm doing it from an if I'm doing it from a render, but I'm going to see if I can try to do real-time compositing today. No cycles is a bit more limited with that, but I am curious. Nope. Dang it. Okay. Well, I'll need to do a render. That's okay. This will probably take me a little bit. Issues with PC, you can restart. No worries, Shady Lady. You can jump back on when your computer's ready. That's always the worst, though. I've actually noticed that with, I don't know if it's with Blender 5.1 or something else, but I've noticed I've been having some VRAM issues, or I have to restart my GPU a couple times. But let me see if I can do a render. I'm not going to denoise in the render. Light tree, there's only 2 lights, so it should be fine. Exposure, that's fine. Performance, CPU. Just making sure I have all my settings right. Color management, this is render raw doing its thing. So I'm gonna actually do raw because we're gonna handle the color space in the compositor. Now I have the resolution really high on this one. So hopefully that means I don't have to do as heavy denoising on this one, but alrighty, so I'll go back to the boring image editor. It's okay. Colors look weird, but that's because it's in raw color space. Yeah, rendering not looking too bad. Something that was cool, I'll zoom into this a little more, is that the scales, I decided to do kind of this basically I wanted it to be like see-through. Because I kind of like this idea of having it be where it's not just like a full tail like a real fish, but it's almost kind of like the human part is growing underneath it a little bit. So it's like this is their feet and this stuff. For anybody thinking it's because I'm lazy and just used a human base mesh and meshed around it, then but I thought it was kind of a cool idea and kind of making it so it wasn't just a fish tail purely. Okay, that looks good. Alrighty, so I switch to the viewer node. Turn off the backdrop here. Back, hello. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Thought I could have music working. Let me know if you actually do hear the music, but some reason the stream's not picking it up, even though I have it enabled. But alrighty, color space. That's what we need first. We need to convert it to X. Rec 709 is what I want. Okay. The letter sRGB. No. It's, I know I talked about it in my tutorial. I've forgotten. Okay. You don't hear music? Okay. I will not worry about it then. Yeah, I had it set up and for some reason it was not playing the music through. But I'll try it again for the next stream. So that's okay. You can just hear me talk. Okay. So we have our position data. That's what I'm wanting. And we got our normal data. What I'm wanting to do is try to do some kind of, I don't know if cell shaded is the right word, but yeah, pretty much, kind of a cell shaded style. But so what I want to try is, first thing I want to try to do like I'll do a Kuwahara. Does the Kuwahara care about color space? It's actually a great question. Okay. But then I want to add like some, I want to try some like stroke along the edges. And I wanted to try that with a Sobel filter. So a Sobel filter, for those who don't know, it's basically like it's kind of like an edge detection type of filter, where it looks at the image and tries to find all the different edges. So I want to try to do that with the position and Sobel. I want to see how that works. Okay, yeah, position is quite too strong, but normals works pretty well. Let me try that. Or those light stripes on her back. Oh, yeah, so this is, let me turn off the Kuwahara. It was meant to be a kind of like the water reflecting back onto her back. So it's like the sun has hit the water behind her and that light has reflected up behind her. I was trying to give some more interesting lighting for her, other than just kind of flat lighting from the front, give kind of something more textured, but that's what I was going for. But this is still a work in progress render, obviously. She's bald, so. So yeah, that was kind of the vibe I'm going for. Man, that little brush look is so cool. Cool horror filters, really cool. But yeah, so let's see. So we want to do the Sobel. But we basically want to make it something a little more workable. So if I can just turn it down. How high does this go, actually? Brightness. .4 there. Most of this is going to be noisy because I use the adaptive subdivision and stuff. So we're going to get the cleanest lines over here. Okay, 3.2. Okay, it seems like 3.5 is a lot better. Okay. You can tell the texture of like, yep, I added that texture. Then the adaptive subdivisions, it's a little messy because it's doing all that manually, but okay. So let's try one. I had the idea of doing, if the Sobel didn't work, maybe I could try doing something with the position. I think I could technically do this with a The idea is do a fast Gaussian. Do a blur and a divide. Okay. Kind of works. What about it's the other way around? Okay, so the darkest parts are the edges here. I think the 32 is way too high. Let's try 8. Even 4. Okay, so basically anything that's white you don't want. Let's see if I can subtract. Oh, Keith Haring. Oh, that's funny. That's true. It kind of does have that color vibe to it a little bit when you do that. It's true. So let's see if I can do a difference. Aha. It's doing everything except the... Almost there. Let's see. It's down because I'm just showing this because I don't need to worry about those. Okay, so I have this. I basically want anything that's not white. Okay, so subtract was what I wanted to do. Perfect. Well, so now you kind of get this nice little, this nice edge. Yeah, it's a little noisy with the water. I may just turn off the displacement on the water for that. Yeah, there's also no crashing waves. That's the other thing I needed to figure out, but so you can do kind of a bigger stroke with that. Okay, so we can just use the, I'm going to move these and then frame it. There you go. That way you can kind of see some keyboard shortcuts if you really want to. But anyway, so I used F to do the framing. But so then we can do a multiply. Oh no, we're just multiplying the entire image. Not with the factor. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so it is a little, it's not taking those smaller things into account. Does it matter if I do a real Gaussian? Oh. Okay, so fast Gaussian doesn't make a huge difference. So that's fine. Then now we can kind of adjust stroke line. kind of has this, yeah, it's a very procedural painterly look. I kind of like it. Oh, why not use the standard freestyle? That's a good question. So the benefit of the freestyle is that you can basically have it in viewport. You can have it with the scene and everything. I don't think that's necessarily a way. It's not a bad way to do it by any means. It's perfectly fine. Again, I think this is more of me challenging myself to try to do it on the compositor, and the laziness of not having to do it in the scene, but doing it all in the scene, like with the grease pencil and all that, is perfectly valid. Okay, sorry, I was checking. I had notified some people on Discord that I was live streaming, and I made the mistake of dropping like a news bomb that I was a tad too vague about, like, oh yeah, booing at Annecy and stuff, and then everyone's like, wait, what was that about? So don't drop news that you don't finish before doing a live stream. Maybe someone will come on here and ask. And make sure you turn off your phone. Okay. But yeah, the Annecy stuff, I'll put it on there as well. But basically with Annecy, what I had heard happen, I had heard this from someone that had worked on the film. Basically people were booing about a film that was considered that used AI. So the film had, from my understanding, was that a painter painted most of it. He did a lot of the backgrounds and a lot of the keyframes for the concepts and all that. And then for the stuff they added on top, I think they used Blender and some other 3D stuff. But because the style didn't match the actual painted backgrounds, the artist had worked with them to do a LLM based style transfer, I think is what it was. But in short, it was widely published that they did that. People just heard AI, and so they started booing it and all that. So that's why that happened. I think these edges is because of the Kuwahara. I wonder if I can use a Kuwahara on this. It kind of worked. It kind of worked. Okay. Let's do a Kuwahara on here. So I do without. Yeah. Okay. It's good to know. Does the one even work? Oh, it kind of does. But yeah, so that was the drama that was happening. It looks like it does like a subtler. It does a subtler line on the stuff that's more similar. Interesting. Because yeah, I could have it be where it's more obvious. Yeah. So I did something like this where it's of like basically any freestyle line. That's that, but I think this gives it a nice subtlety. Obviously, it doesn't work right here. I mean, I could maybe even... Can I do this? Kind of. It starts eating away at the rest of the stuff, though. This would have to be like more of a cryptomat type of fix, but that's okay. Man, this worked really well. So now that we have this, I wonder if I can do something similar with the normals now. Okay. What Discord are you on at the moment? I'm on a few servers. I'm in on CG Cookie. The one I was looking at was called Control Art Delete and Cecina's. Honestly, I'm someone that doesn't like being on a lot of Discord servers, but sadly, I kind of have to be on a lot of them. Um, I'm not on like the general Blender Discord or things like that, um, but yeah. So I'm on a few. I've gotten less interested in doing in being on Discord as actively, but let's see. Does this work? Kind of. Now I got a problem of we got to subtract the blue. Because it's 0.5, is that what it is? What is the blue that's used for normals? Because it's not a pure blue, is it a... Oh, I didn't do a full divide, that's what it was. Now let's do that. Okay. Now we got these lines. Oh, I see. So it's not that it's not as bright, it's that it's too big. Maybe I can do like a dilate and erode and redilate. So basically what you do for this is that you go down some and then you go back up. So basically it allows you to remove the especially small stuff. If you take this out, you have all this 1 pixel noise, but by bringing it back, then you have this nice thing. It's more broken up, of course. It seems like this green is the... Well, this is the other green. Red. Interesting. Okay. Oh, interesting. Maybe this one I just do the Sobel then. Well, it kind of cleans it up, but it also reintroduces new stuff. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. Let me try it. If I just turn this down. Okay. Yeah, that's workable. So the question is, do I do a multiply or an add? The multiply basically ensures like anything that's different position and the normals have changed, whereas add is either. Okay, so it does add some of those other lines back, which I kind of like. Maybe I can make it so it does less. Yeah, maybe that the normal ones are more subdued. Kind of what I'm thinking. Let me see how that looks. Alrighty, so move this out. It's almost kind of a oh, save please, thank you. I should save. I do have auto saves on, but I very much ran into that problem. I think I did. Oh my goodness, I worked on this a lot last night and this morning, and I think I literally just went probably an hour or two without saving. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so that's full. What if I turned it down? Okay. It just kind of, I don't know if I like it lighter like that. I almost just want it thinner, you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I could try thinner and lighter. Do the dilate again. Okay, yeah, because that's just the size of the pixels, so it's like I can't do much with that. Can I do there? No, it's not working. Okay, it's fine. Let's see. I'm trying to think what this reminds me of, though. There's a... Okay, so the Kuhara definitely clears up a lot of the noise. Let me put this all into a value so I can tweak them all at once. So is this big enough for you guys? Scale? Try that. Oh, right, because I'm on my personal settings. That's right. I have different preferences. Usually I do one for tutorials that's bigger fonts and all that stuff, but this is my personal one, so it's not scaled up. Okay. And then the blur can also be extracted. Actually, I'm not going to touch the... I don't want to touch the color Kuwahara. I want to just touch this one. Okay. Maybe, I wonder if the sharpness is affecting this too. Okay. What if I turn down the sharpness on this? Weird. Okay. Well, I'm keeping it at 1. That's what we want, but if I did this 64. Okay. Yeah, so that adds too many artifacts if you do it too high. So maybe I should keep this one low. Okay. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Minus that part. see if I can. Okay. Yes, by doing the 16, that makes it a little better. Oh, I should add some fog. I was like, that horizon looks way too crisp. Hey, WoQuest, how are you? Yeah, I'm doing a stylized render today. I'm doing taking a realistic render. Let me go back to this. So this is what it looks like normally. I'll turn off this compositor. Well, it normally looks like this. Turn off the. This is what it normally looks like, but I'm turning it into a stylized render. That's the goal for today. But yeah, so let's do the map range of the depth. And this is a huge scene, so I'll need to actually turn this way up. Not working? Oh, wait, I'm dumb. Going the from, not the to. There we go. All right, yeah, this is a wide scene, so I need to do that. Okay, this isn't a particularly... See if I can get the actual distance. If I do 1,000, okay. Could just... Actually, I want to just... $14.99, so... Oh, okay, so 1,500. I was already there. All right, so now I have that. I can plug that into here. So then need to do the fog color. I kind of want to do just kind of the haze of the rock, maybe. Okay, very subtle fog. But gives a nice sense of atmosphere. Let me have it start at it started at 100. $500 maybe. I want some of the beach to have it, like some of this part of the beach, but I don't want. Because I wanted to start around here. There we go. Oh, you don't have the option to tick off use nodes in the compositor anymore, right? Should bring that back. Yeah, they did take that off in was that 5.0 or is that 5.1? But yeah, they did. So they made it all node tree based now. I think you can still turn off the compositor manually. So if I go back here, in the output, yeah, so in the output settings at the very bottom with the post-processing, you can turn off the compositor explicitly, but I think if you just don't add a compositing node tree in your setup, then it just won't do one. But I think that's currently how it is, but I will say it probably is going to break some add-ons from that because with that, and they also took it off of materials. Materials used to have the use nodes checkbox for a while. It was left over from like 2.7, 2.8 years actually. But yeah, they took that off and were yeah, they took that off a while ago. So there we go. Let's see. Do the one again. Okay. Do a little less. I want some of that white to still come through. Okay. So what is this little lines coming down? Oh, that's what it is. Because my X and Y or the might be the Y axis. The Y axis goes through here and sets the negative and positive values. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I can fix that though. I can do that. Kind of. Maybe. That work? Move some of it. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. I guess I could do a map range. So instead of having it run through the middle of negative to positive, I could have it go left to right. Technically, that could just be like a screen space thing. Negative 91. So it is the x-axis that's doing it. So negative 90. Alrighty, so negative. Let's do one by one. 45. 45 to 92. This is probably way too mathy for most people. That's fine. But the idea is that I don't want the line to be in the middle because it's going to mark that as sharp even though there's no changes to it. But so then let me do Y. 1329. $13.29. What's the positive? 0. And then the Z. A1 goes to like, this is the tallest thing. 5. So what if I did that? Looks ugly, but if I do this, clears it right up here. This is one of those things that's quite weird, but it pays to know some math. So again, it's that because the position goes from negative to positive here, the color, or I mean, the value changes from negative to positive. But because that sharp change, well, there's like, oh, so that's a sharp edge. You want to make a stroke out of that, right? And so it gets really confused. But if I just turn that off or remap it, now it fixes it. Let's see if it. Looks like it did mess with some of the other ones. Let me see if I can. Okay, it did seem to break up some of the. It did add some noise as part of the mapping. That's okay. I think that's just from the, oh, because it's going from 0 to 1. Yeah, let's give it some more precision. Yeah, that was it. Basically, the reasoning for that, this is it's one of those weird computer quirks that you would never know unless you knew how computers worked. But the idea is that computers run on numbers, zeros and ones. And so if you're just doing zeros and ones, how do you represent numbers bigger than that? And of course, with like integers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that's kind of easy. You can just kind of do it like a, I'm trying to think what the representation would be, but it's kind of like a timer thing that's like 0, 1, and it goes back to 0, but then a bit next to it turns to 1. So it's like a 0, 1, 10, 11, right? But then it gets into the weirdness of, well, how do you do decimal numbers with that? And basically with computers, the answer is you don't. You basically just tell it of, give it a, you basically give it, you give an approximation. It's basically just becomes approximation instead. And so that's why, like, when it comes to numbers, it's actually the reason why, if we deal with clipping space, for instance, so let's say I'm doing this, and with the camera, find my camera, there it is. So if you go to the camera and you decide to make your clip start at 0.0001, you're like, why the heck is it doing that? That's the range I want. Why can't it just handle that? The problem is the bigger, basically decimal numbers. Oh, I'm not showing my screen. I'm sorry. So it's like when you give it a really small clip start and a really big clip end, then you get these kind of weird artifacts. And it's because the computer's trying to do decimal numbers, but because it's doing these approximations, it can't get it right. It's basically jumping back and forth, and that's where you get this weird clashing. So if I add a couple, it's better, but you can still see these little artifacts here because it's trying to like, oh wait, where's that decimal number? Is it the right spot? Yeah, Kate, seriously, I'm sorry. Again, yeah, there's a bit of a delay, so that's my bad. But so yeah, by increasing this clip start, you're making the computer have a smaller range to work with and a little less precision to work with, or not less precision. Because the range is smaller, it can be a little more precise. And so yeah, that's why they say of like never do a super small clip start with a really big clip end. Like always give it, be as conservative as you can with your clip start and clip end. Like I could probably do 10, but that starts, taking out the mermaid, but probably even do 3. But yeah, so that's why you do that. Again, I have the problem of this scene I made real scale, and of course it's, I think a kilometer and a half long. So it's like that didn't help me here. But yeah, so that's with that's a little computer knowledge for you in terms of um, how it does that. So this we can have it just not do any changes. I'm trying to see if I can just do like a new 345 to 92. Get my calculator. I ain't doing that. 437. Thank you. But yeah, not super necessary. But the nice thing is then it kind of allows you not have to deal with that little with those issues. All right. So with the other strokes, I want to see if I can. I'm trying to see how well this reads. Okay, it's not bad. Strokes are pretty easy to read. But, okay. This is kind of fun. I've experimented with the Kuwahara filter before, but I don't think I've ever really seen of how nice it can look, especially like with this kind of edges. You almost just need like a little bit of a texture on top. Like if you could just tell it of like do the Kuwahara and then do some like overlay with it, like you're pretty much already there with the painterly effect. Okay. And then for the cell itself, I mean, lose all those lovely scales. Let me see if I can bring that back. Okay. I think I need to do another map range. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, keep this stuff more crisp, but then make it much more Kuwahara, much more painterly for the background stuff. So I'm going to do this time I don't want to do the background, I want to do the foreground. So 6. Okay, so she's right around 6 meters away. So with that, so I can do a 5 and then so I can have it be pinned, like have the scale all the way up into that. But I want to kind of flatten this castle and sailboat a bit. So I'm going to have it just go to 1,000, maybe 1,200, 1,100. That seems good. Okay, so then what we do is now we plug that into the size. And of course, now it's still way too crisp, but we can now go from like what were we doing? We were doing 32 before. So now I got this super painterly, like bigger strokes back there, but for here, we can then lower it down to maybe say 4. So now you got this kind of nice gradual crispness from here to a more less detailed here. So it's kind of a detail-based depth of field. That's kind of fun. Yeah, I don't think I showed this to you, WoQuest, but this is I've been hiding Suzanne's through the scene. So this one's a Suzanne, that one's a Suzanne, that one's a Suzanne. These are just the rocks. Oh, and this one's a Suzanne over here. So power of adaptive subdivision is making the displacement stuff really work really well. Yeah, maybe I could turn this up even higher. A 64? Oh, interesting. It's like super splotchy. That's kind of fun. Oh, that ruined the ship. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Does 32 fix it? Okay, 32 is like its max. Okay. All right, ship. We won't mess with you. Okay. Wait, maybe 48? No. Okay. All right. We'll do it. We'll do what you say, buddy. All right. Okay, so that's not bad. Obviously, this is having it. The problem is the adaptive subdivision is breaking up this stroke. So obviously, it's not really as ideal. If I turned off adaptive subdivision, like for the water especially, that I think that would fix that, make that look a lot better. But yeah, and then the Kuahara for here. And of course, the Kuahara in the position helps clean it up a little bit. It basically just posterizes it, I think. Yeah. Kind of is. It is kind of just grouping them together. So it's just like all of this is the same position. But I think it's not bad. I'm wondering if I can do some. I want to limit the color palette some more because it's like, for instance, with this, it's like the colors are super crisp, and I want to try to see if I can maybe band the colors a little bit, just that way it's a little simpler. I'll watch the rest later. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Okay, yeah, let me see if I can limit the color palette. So basically what I do, so I've done this in a shader before, so I'm basically trying to re-implement some of my stylized shader stuff into the compositor. That's kind of what I was hoping to do today. But yeah, so I'm thinking of doing is if I do a separate color. Do that and then combine not an XYZ, combine color. Moving stuff on my desk. I have too much stuff on my desk right now. It's a bit of a problem. If I do this, so the alpha will stay the same. It won't be a big deal. But the thing is, then, if I do a map range, there's an option for stepped, which basically allows you to change the steps of your different colors. If I do this, quantization is the mathematical term, but it's doing like a cell shaded look. But so basically then so if you do this, then you get a lot more simplified lighting, right? And we can do maybe do 8 on the other ones. I am curious about these different okay. Yeah, 8 seems maybe too small still. Interesting. Okay. Because I think the Y is acting as Luma. Okay. I'm getting almost kind of like an old printer style, which is kind of interesting. think I'll just do HSL. If I do like 3, then it's like the 3 shadow and lighting and all that. Oh wait, so the lightness is this one. So now it's, yeah, okay. So 3. So yeah, now you get this kind of very I don't know if graphic novel is the word. It's kind of like those graphic novels where it's like, they did it all in 3D, but they're trying to make it look 2D, so they just limited the colors a ton. Kind of the vibe I'm getting, just kind of fun. Do I want to do trying to count the colors? Red, orange, yellow. That's 8. We could do 32 hues. Because like for the wall, it's kind of nice to have the extra tones. Yeah. And then for the saturation, and yeah. I'll say I'm doing AGX, which isn't probably the right way to do this. Man, do Chronos? Ooh. Not more. Blew out her face completely. That's funny. But yeah, because AGX will tone down the saturation to try to compensate for the brighter stuff, while Chronos tries to kind of just be more product designy, where it tries to keep the saturation, or otherwise tries not to mess with the color itself too much. Color, I mean, is in the hue and saturation, but yeah, I think it needs the. Oh yeah, well, I was gonna turn down the exposure. Because I reset it in the render settings, but wanted to turn it down a bit. There we go. There we go. I think -3 was what I initially had for it. It's too dark. Yeah, -1 makes sense. But yeah, now I can be a little more, okay. See how AGX is on this. Okay, yeah, it's a little better. I could oversaturate it again. I could add some saturation afterwards if I wanted to. And just go ultra saturated, but push it a little harder, but yeah. I don't hate it, but I think it's just because to me it looks it looks so obvious to me of what it's doing, and I think that's why it feels off. Because that's an interesting thing with art, is that do some ranting. With art really, our perception of the art is a lot more influential to it than we think, or at least that we give it credit for. Because it's like, for example, of like, we do credit a lot with art of how long it takes, like the effort that goes into an artwork. That's why some people get mad over like paintings like Pollock, or like kind of the more abstract art where it's of like, why does this, get sold for $1 million and mine can't even get anything? That we care about the seeming effort that it takes. If something seems like it's not taking a lot of effort, then is that good art? Like that's a very influential aspect, especially with nowadays of how we value art. But also it's a very sentimental aspect. Like if you see like a kid's crayon drawing of him and his dad, it's like, well, that's it's just a kid's drawing, but to the parent that's like so valuable. You know what I mean? Like there's many there's very many things not in the art itself that we value in the art, or at least how we value art is more than just what's on the canvas, if that makes sense. Because I see people argue with artworks of like, if it's not explained in the artwork, then it's not part of the artwork type of thing. I see that a lot, even with historical stuff of like, it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of historical context to this painting, and this is the things that happen. This is what it's referencing. And some people are like, well, if it's not in the painting and it's not explained to me, then it should be. I'm like, context is part of the artwork. That's an important part. But yeah, the idea of the value of art is very interesting to me. I actually made a blog posted about it a while back. It's on my new blog site on blogspencermagnuson.com. But you do art. It's the top article. But basically, I tried to discuss of like, how do I define art, and things like that. And in short, I basically just said of like, I still have these pictures, but in short, I think of it as where's the oh, I need to fix. This is supposed to be in a block quote, but I'll fix that. But art is a series of interconnected choices translated into a tangible medium with the intent to express. That's how I define it currently. I don't think that's too far off from how it's universally defined, but basically it's that there's choices. It's translated into a medium that's tangible of some sort. I know digital art kind of breaks that of like, well, is it tangible? If it's, you can at least see it, it's not necessarily something you can feel, but it is a visual medium. And then with the intent to express, the idea that it's using it to express something, even if everything you're expressing is in the artwork, it's still part of it. But anyway, I do find that aspect very fascinating, but that's on blog.spencermagnuson.com. That's kind of more of my rants, like what we're doing now. Kind of the different kind of things I think about with art and philosophy and personal life and all that stuff. So that's what that gets into. But yeah, with the artwork, I'm trying to think what else I could try with this. Cause yeah, I do kind of like what it's doing. Even got the tears in the flag. That was actually something I did add some tears in the flag. It's the same texture. Don't worry about it. But it's cool. They kind of even gave it some more distortion so they look different. But yeah, I'm trying to think with the, let me put this into like a group node. Use saturation and brightness. So now I can do, let's clean this up at least. I'm trying to think of other ways I could make this more interesting. Because yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's kind of like what I was referring to earlier was of like if something feels obvious of how it's done, it kind of makes it seem less interesting effort wise. And so it's like we did 16-bit everything. Or 8-bit. That's funny. But yeah, so it's this idea that if something if something feels like low effort, or at least you can explain to yourself how it's done, that it feels less effortful. Let me just see how it. Okay, so we lose a lot of the orange. I almost want to be able to do a thing where it's kind of like pick colors from the scene and then just have the pixels snap to those colors. I mean, that's not what Kuwahara is doing. Kuwahara is just grabbing nearby pixels, but basically like a way to limit the palette. I'm trying to think what options. I think so, yeah, because this is tone maps for HDR. It's technically what I'm on, but live streams in SDR. Aliasing. Oh, so this is a posterized of just everything. I think this is a little bit of a more crude way of doing it, but if I did like 3, it's kind of more, yeah. Because the problem is like you'd want to keep, because maybe you'd want to have the 3 tones here, but then you'd want, the full set of colors here, right? There you go. So yeah, so that would be, or even 4 maybe. Doesn't look that bad, but it's it just destroys any and all details. But anyway, but yeah, so it's the idea of that effort is a big part of these. But I mean, maybe I could even just have it where it doesn't do any changes to lightness. I did just the colors. Yeah, I just missed that wall lighting. I'll think about it. Yeah, this is kind of an experimentation on the painterly style and lighting. I don't know if I'd, at least for this style of render, I don't think I could pull off effectively converting it into a fully stylized, but I do kind of like this look. Kind of gives it a very storybook graphic novel look. It's like if someone was doing 3D for their graphic novel, it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like, I have all these 3D characters and then very quickly composite it to look more 2D. But the more I've tried 2D stuff, the more I'm convinced that you can't really beat not doing manual 2D stuff on top. Because yeah, it's just when it's too automated, you kind of lose a lot of that intention that's done with the in-between stuff. But this was fun. This was kind of a fun little experimentation of seeing how that stuff works. But For the art challenge, I'll see if I can try to finish it over the weekend. Actually finish the hair on her and then give her. I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but I wanted to try to do like a jacket or something for her. Just because it's so cold and windy out on beaches. Like, there's no way a mermaid would just hang out above water because they would just be shivering. I guess the Pirates of the Caribbean 4 did that. Well, a few things it got right, I guess. But I'll leave it there. But yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. It was a bit last minute. Again, I'm working on a add-on development course in the meantime, so that's why I'm kind of doing these live streams, is it allows me to do something a little more quick and experimental and trying things out that are new without having to spend so much time preparing and editing videos. It kind of lets me get to experiment a little bit and try some more. So thank you all. Bible Quest, good to see y'all. And take care and